We understand that it's a very big thing, that we are trying to explain it to the students for the examination purpose. From the chapter 13 onwards, after dinner opted of feels bored, she remembers paintings of harems. She used to think they were about eroticism, that is sexualism, but now realizes they depicted the boredom of the woman. She wonders if men find bored women erotic. She thinks of the red center and how Moira, another friend of hers, in some way or the other, Moira had ditched her, was brought there 3 weeks after her own arrival. Moira and Alfred pretended not to know one another because friendship aroused suspicion. They arranged to meet in the restroom to exchange a few words, which made Alfred feel terribly happy. So at the center, everyone had to testify about the past life. Jenna testified that she was going raped at 14. She was gang raped at 14. After she finished speaking, the aunts asked the group whose fault the rape was, and the rest of the handmaids chanted in unison that it was Janine, Janine, false because she led them on, the rapist on. So when she cried, they called her a crybaby. Alfred says she used to think of her body as an instrument of pleasure or of transportation, an instrument she controlled. Now others define her body as nothing more than a uterus. She hates facing menstruation every month because it means failure. Her only function is childbearing. Alfred remembers running through the woods trying to escape with her daughter. She could not run very fast because the child slowed her down. She remembers hearing shots. She and her daughter fell to the ground, hiding. Alfred begged her daughter to be quiet, but she was too young to understand. She remembers being physically restrained and watching her daughter to get dragged away from her. So in the following chapter, we also come to know how these commanders behaved with these women they caught hold of. After bathing and eating, Alfred must attend the ceremony with the rest of the household. The commander is always late for the ceremony. Selena sits while Alfred kneels on the floor. Rita, Cora, and Nick stand behind Alfred. Nick's shoe touches Alfred's. She shifts a foot away, but he moves his foot, so it touches her again. Nick is a real husband. He was lost to her. As usual, Selena allows them to watch the news while they wait. Television stations from Canada are blocked, and most of the programming is religious. The news reports that spies were caught smuggling national resources across the border and that 5 Quakers have been arrested. The newscasters declares that the resettlement of the children of Ham is proceeding with thousands of people forced to resettle in Dakota. It's another city in America. And you also know that Dakota is the name of a place. So don't get confused. Purchased fake passports from when they decided to escape. They told their daughter they were going on a picnic and planned to give her a sleeping pill when they crossed the border so that she would not be questioned or give them away. They packed nothing in their car because they did not want to arouse suspicion. So in the following chapter, we come to know the commander arrives and proceeds to unlock an ornate box. He takes out a Bible and reads from it to everyone. Alfred wonders what it is like to be a man, like him surrounded by women who watch his every move. The commander reads passages that emphasize childbearing. As the commander reads, his wife begins to sob softly. The commander reads the story of Rachel, Rachel, and Leah, from the book of Genesis. Rachel was barren, so she urged her husband to have a child by her maid, Bilhah, Bilhah. At the Red Center, this story was drilled into the handmaids. During lunch, they played recordings of a male voice reciting the beatitudes, so the aunts would not have to commit the sin of reading. Alfred remembers the time when Moira decided to fake an illness, hoping to escape by bribing one of the men in the ambulance with sex. When she tried it on an angel, he reported her. The aunts tortured Moira by beating her feet with steel cables. The punishment for a first offense, the punishment for a second offense was beating the hands. Aunt Lydia reminded them of such punishments that might have to face things they did wrong, doing any wrong things, and against the orders of the aunt, who would not wish them to do it, would bring them all displeasure of life. So they were aware of the fact that wrongs cannot be done in such a manner that they be punished for doing the wrongs. So, in these chapters, what we learn in some of the Gilead's rhetoric borrows from the feminist movement, most of it utterly contradicts the feminist movement. We see this when Alfred remembers the group taunting of Janine. When Janine tells the story of a gang rape at the age of 14, the group at Aunt Lydia's prompting chants that the rape was Janine's fault. If a woman was raped, it was her fault. That she led them on. That God allowed the rape to happen in order to teach Janine a lesson. So these sentiments are the antithesis of feminist ideals that reject blaming victims of sexual violence. So the incidents also illustrates the way Gilead turns woman against woman, testifying is a powerful way of breaking women, but they are blamed not of breaking women, but they are not blamed for not by the oppressors men, but those who are also oppressed women. So these effectiveness of the group condemnation becomes clear when Alfred relates that next week Janine said without prompting that the rape was her fault because she led them on. These women are coerced into condemning their peers because they know that they will be punished if they do not. Now you see horribly, however, they begin to enjoy the condemnation. When they call Janine a cry baby, Alfred says, "We meant it," which was the bad part. They despise Janine's weakness and for a moment they truly believe the ideology of Aunt Lydia feeds them. The bath scene shows us how Alfred's view of a body has changed, and more generally, how women think of themselves differently in the new world. Before Alfred's body was an instrument for living. In Gilead, its only importance is as cloud congealed around her central object. The central object is a womb, which is the only part of a woman that matters in Gilead. You can also call it Gilead. This idea that only the womb matters gets reinforced when Opret remembers Aunt Lydia's saying hands and feet are not even necessary for handmaids. Aunt Lydia implies that only the wombs matter and the other parts of the body can safely be played and beaten. The woman pain and feeling do not matter to the rulers of Gilead. Only childbearing does. Opret's flashback continue to flesh out the story of her life. Before becoming a handmaid, few people appear in Opret's flashback. Only Luke, Moira, Opret's mother and daughter make appearances. So each of these characters fulfills a different human need. Moira satisfies the need for friendship. Opret's mother need the need for family. Her daughter the need for children. Luke the need for romantic love. Opret must satisfy her human needs as best as she can by living partially in the past, for none of her needs can be satisfied in her own new life. We also learn more about the time before Gilead when Selena Joy turns out on the news before the ceremony. Previous chapters imply that Gilead is at war, and on the news we see images of the war and the subversives, and we hear reports of victories. The fact of the war is important because it suggests that Gilead does not rule everywhere. Somewhere, the possibility of escape exists. The fact that subversives exist also gives hopes. Given if many are arrested, the fact that anyone still resists the government is encouraging. The newscasters makes references to the children of Ham and the resettlement, which touches on the subject of race. Racist ideologies of the 19th century often held that black people descended from the biblical figure of Ham, capital Ham. We just see the interpretation of the Bible, who was cursed by his father Noah, N-O-A-H. He must have read it in The Merchant of Venice, and made to a servant of his brothers. The resettlement of this group calls to mind the post resettlement of Jews in Nazi Germany, or peace in Soviet Russia and the Communist China, especially because Opret says no one knows what happens to these people after they move. Atwood implies that Gilead has revived the racist ideology of the past to excite black people from white society once and for all. The ceremony reveals more of Gilead's connection to our world and our history. The decoration in the living room where the Bible reading takes place, painting of women with pinched faces, constructed breasts, and stiff mouths and brick backs emphasize Gilead's attempt to restore a pre-feminist world. The Bible reading itself involves the citation of an ancient authority to justify the use of handmaids. The handmaid commander relationship is intended as a response to the emergency caused by low fertility rates, but Gilead does not justify it on those grounds. Instead, Gilead's leaders claim that it is a part of a biblically sanctioned tradition. So everything you get has a biblical reference. Of course, such references are there in our Mahabharata and Ramayana. Again, Atwood implies that nothing about Gilead is new. It merely takes threads from our world and weaves a new oppressive tapestry out of them. So you see, these stories are so made so as to make us believe that what is being said is right and what others are saying is wrong. though you have to read the chapters